We'll see how that works. Let's see. And I want to look at this. All right. I have brought my Greg Popovich holy prayer candle. I think the Spurs are in need of help, and I have not busted it out yet this season, but I'm going to bust it out tonight and today. I feel, therefore, very confident the Spurs will win tonight. Here we go. Okay. We're rolling there. I am going to mute my mic. And for a second, I'm going to mute Shannon's during the song. Good morning, Sam Tobias. My microphone. Dave, I have my, well, I put my StreamYard microphone on, but my regular microphone is the way it normally is. Woo! Shannon Salty Sweeney, can you hear us?
I've got you.
Shannon's got us. All right. Wow. I leave a couple of days and now see, I've got echo in my ear when I've got StreamYard on. So we'll figure that out. Welcome into a morning of technical bliss on this Football Friday morning, February 2nd, as we gear up for the very exciting Pro Bowl. Shannon Salty Sweeney, how are you this morning?
Now, wait a minute, Chris. Wait a minute. You just said February 2nd. It's the 4th.
Thank you.
And that's quite all right, because I know that you've been gone. You've been on your forgiveness retreat, specifically for February 2nd for Kawhi Leonard. So I think to kick things off, I mean, we need to, are you a changed man this morning as we see you right now?
And I apologize to everybody listening. My microphone is on. I tried to mute the StreamYard mic so as not to hear myself echoing in my ear. Shannon, to answer your question, no, you will not hear me. I set 2/2/2022 as the day that I would forgive Kawhi Leonard, and you will not hear me say another negative word about Kawhi Leonard ever. That period of my life is over.
That's immense growth. And I for one, am proud of you for going on that excursion and coming back renewed.
Thank you. And to correct the date as we begin this segment, it is Friday, February 4th. Throughout the football season, Shannon, we've been calling Friday appropriately Football Fridays. Yeah, technically there is a football game this weekend. Technically, kind of, sort of. I mean, I don't know if we're going to watch. I'm going to watch because I'm a freak and I realize the perishing nature of football. But how about you? Are you going to be in place for the Pro Bowl on Sunday?
You know, you're right. It feels a little less Football Friday-y today, but I haven't really decided yet. I'll probably flip back and forth between that and whatever Olympic coverage is going on at the time. The Olympics opening ceremony is actually live right now. So I've got that going on in front of me. Pretty empty stadium once again. But Beijing so far putting on a show. Giant.
I'm surprised that, Beijing, and granted, the coronavirus started in Wuhan, China a couple of years ago now. But I'm surprised. I mean, it is China, and China always wants to put on a show. I'm surprised that they didn't mandate that stadium for the opening ceremonies be full. I'm a little surprised that stadium might be a little bit empty.
It was interesting when I was watching coverage this morning. They mentioned, certain diplomats that would be there, the athletes that are there. And even though they didn't sell tickets and public could not attend, they said there were special guests who were invited to attend the opening ceremony. I don't know what that means.
So as you look, and I don't have television coverage in this studio that I'm in this morning, what are you seeing on the screen? I mean, when I was driving in about an hour ago, they were saying the opening ceremonies were just about to get underway. Is it your typical opening ceremony pageantry? Are the countries marching in yet? What's going on right now?
We do not yet have the Parade of Nations. This year's, that's the same guy who did the 2008 Beijing Summer Olympics opening, where there was just people on people on people that were part of the opening ceremony and the dancing and the routines. A lot less people in this one. Mainly the entire floor of the arena is a giant LED screen, and they've got a lot of green screen action going on. So I'm sure if you're there, you're probably looking at next to nothing. But on TV, it looks pretty cool so far.
That is kind of interesting that they would use the floor itself as a big screen TV. And Shannon, again, and I know it's an international event, but the Olympics should have waited, in my opinion, until a week after the Super Bowl. We go into the dark ages, at least I certainly do, after the Super Bowl ends, and I go through football withdrawals. I could have, just locked in if a day or two after the Super Bowl, we had the opening ceremonies for the Beijing Winter Olympics. I could have locked in on it. It's still hard for me to even think Olympics or get into the Olympics when we've got this Super Bowl 56 between the Cincinnati Bengals and the LA Rams coming up.
Oh yeah. And also, the extra game that we got this season in the NFL then pushed the Super Bowl back a week, right? So, it's all going to kind of be coming to an end around the same time. And, that empty feeling is going to maybe hit a little bit harder. And you're right. The Olympics, they're kind of hard to get. All the stories I'm seeing from the Olympics there are athletes over there that are just crying because of the conditions. It's apparently bitterly cold, similar to how us Texans are feeling again this morning. And on top of that, they've got all of these COVID restrictions that they're still having to deal with. And it's just not the event that all of these athletes dreamed of. They finally get there, and then this is what it's like. And it's just not the experience that I think a lot were hoping for. And you could see why.
Well, we will certainly keep an eye on it. You, Shannon, between now and 9:00 will be our eyes and ears on the Beijing Olympic opening ceremonies. If you see anything that is noteworthy or newsworthy or unusual, let us know. We came into the show, Shannon, at the top of the show, had some technical issues. I should have said this, and I meant to say this at the top of the show. As you mentioned, I was out for the last couple of days. Thank you to you. Thank you to Coach A, Paul Alexander, Dave OEHLER, and the first day, 2 days ago, Jeremy KOLAK, holding down the fort, doing a magnificent job by all accounts. So thank you very much.
Yes, it's always fun to have Coach A, but certainly glad to have you back, sir.
Good to be back and a lot to talk about. Speaking of Coach A, we have him every Friday, which we love. So I texted him yesterday. I said, you just did 2 full shows. You certainly have earned the rest if you don't want to join us Friday at 7:05. And thankfully, because we enjoy him a lot, love talking everything sports, especially football with Paul Alexander. So Paul will join us again at 7:05 this morning. So Shannon, 3 days of Paul Alexander. That's a cool thing.
I can't get enough of them, and I don't think our listeners can either. So I'm here for it.
Very, very cool. What I can get enough of, Shannon, and you know me, when the temperature gets below 70, I'm not comfortable. And certainly when the temperature gets below freezing, I'm not loving it. As I'm driving to work this morning, 21 degrees. I guess it could be a lot worse. We look at what happened a year ago with the winter blast freeze Mageddon shutdown of the state of Texas. So currently in Austin, in San Antonio, in Central and South Texas, very, very, very cold, but not wet and relatively clear skies. So I guess we just endure the cold here and count our blessings. It's not worse than it already is.
Yeah, I think clear skies for today, and hopefully once the sun rises, it'll start to melt the snow and ice that is still very much prevalent on the roads and outside my window here in Austin. But you're right. Thank goodness it's not what we had to endure last year. I know a lot of people thought that's what we were going to get. If you were to see walk into an HEB earlier this week or a Costco,
oh my God,
I mean craziness.
And I, we had the run during COVID, the run on toilet paper and some essentials, especially we noticed toilet paper. Pre-COVID-19, we've had winter storms before. There's a new level of panic in people that I think the pandemic has begun. You're right. You go to HEB and things you really, really want on the shelves are gone. They are empty. I think as a people, we have just we have no hope anymore. We have no trust, no faith that, okay, I'm looking at the weather forecast. This weather event's going to last 4 days, but daytime over the weekend, it's going to be sunny and darn right pleasant. So I got enough food in my house. I got some TV dinners. I got some water. I'm okay. Everybody acts as if we got to hunker down for the next 19 months. I'm amazed at how people are acting at HEB lately.
Everyone's turning into doomsdayers, Chris. Everyone is just going to the extreme, whether they need to or not. And then I just think of all of the waste, especially when it comes to the food, right? Because you don't end up eating it. There were plenty of restaurants around town that were closed yesterday, obviously, because workers couldn't get in, and they probably also figured no one else was driving around. And like me, when things were shut down at the beginning of the pandemic, the second restaurants opened, I was like, oh, I just really want to go to a restaurant, have a bartender make me a drink, and just have a restaurant meal, one of my favorite meals from one of my favorite places. And I think a lot of people are that way, and just after they go buy all this food that's just going to perish, that other people could have used or needed. There's no, and like you said, this is just a 2-day thing right now. We're fine.
Yeah.
Be okay. Have some water. Or some outside. Go get it.
And don't waste your food. You bring up a great point. And back to the pandemic for a moment. And then I swear to God, we're going to dive into sports. And we've got a hire at Jacksonville for the Jaguars that we will react to, among other things. But one of the things we really learned, Shannon, during the pandemic especially, and people are still going through it, a lot of families, a lot of people, their income dropped significantly, if not dramatically, during the pandemic. So food banks, I know in San Antonio, in Austin, across Texas, and our listening area across the country, they need help. People need help. So don't do what Shannon just described some people may be doing, and that's waste your food. If you went and bought a ton of food at HEB to get ready for this hard freeze, eat it. Eat it before you start going out and getting fast food and doing whatever you do. I just think it's an awful thing to waste that food. And if the food is truly frozen and you can donate it to somebody who can use it, consider doing that as well.
Yeah, especially with the Super Bowl, almost what are we 9 days out now? We've got to start thinking about what we're gonna get for Super Bowl food, and if everyone's already got all the chips. Because they wanted chips for the freeze.
Yes.
They wanted their chicken wings or their hot dogs. That's going to be a whole other run on a certain category of foods. So just, you'll be okay. You'll be all right. I promise.
And Shannon, I understand you are keeping an eye as it happens live. The opening ceremonies of the Winter Olympics in Beijing. We have a new change and unexpected, just kind of a new thing happening right now in the opening ceremonies program. What are you seeing?
Yes, the Parade of Nations has begun. It's pretty cool. They're kind of coming out of the center of the arena and then taking a lap around the digital track, as you will, because the entire floor of the stadium is just a giant LED screen. And we're on Japan. I know that they typically come out in the alphabetical order of the country that they're in. So not sure when Team USA will make their debut, but we'll keep an eye on it for sure.
Yeah, and Japan kind of makes sense maybe because the Summer Olympics were in Japan, so maybe that is symbolic of a handoff from Japan to China. And just one quick thought on that, Shannon. Olympic athletes work all their lives for this opportunity, and only the best of the best can medal, get a gold medal, get a silver medal, get a bronze medal. I can't even imagine the moment right now, certainly for American athletes, but athletes around the world. You train your entire life. You have this dream. It is such a magnificent dream. And if God blessed you with the ability to work on that ability and become an Olympian someday, and B, you and your parents and your trainers committed all of these years of training and hard work and blood, sweat, and tears to have that moment to march with your nation in the Parade of Nations at an Olympiad, winter or summer, has got to be just a life peak experience that you will cherish and remember forever and ever.
I would think so, especially because the games itself, usually, I know some things have already gotten underway, but everything's right in front of you. You haven't won or lost a medal yet. And, walking into that stadium with all of the other athletes from around the world, that is a truly once in a lifetime moment, because you'll never have that again. So I'm sure for them it's huge, and it'll be interesting to see just how many Team USA athletes walk in today, because usually they represent pretty well. We're usually one of the bigger countries as far as who we bring to the Olympics, but I know some teams have already gotten their sports underway, so they may not be available.
And Shannon, keeping an eye on the opening ceremonies live as we speak of the Winter Olympic Games in Beijing. Coming up, the high five play of the day. Lots of coverage coming your way. As I mentioned, Coach A, Paul Alexander, will talk football as God intended. We'll talk Olympics with Paul a little bit later as well. Shannon's salty shakedown for a frigid Friday morning. Also sports history, sports birthdays, and your chance to win $1,000 at 7:20 and at 8:20. We do that all morning and all day into the night on the 20s, beginning at 7:20. Lots to cover. Coaching changes in the NFL. Pro Bowl coming up, gearing up for the Super Bowl. NBA action last night, college hoops as well. We'll meet Dave OEHLER, your Soundscape stylist, coming up in just a moment. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. I'm Chris. Thanks for hanging out with us till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. All right. Hello, Taro Kotani. When I'm not talking, or when I'm talking. One more time. Oh, it's god awful. When I talk, I have to take my earphone down because the echo's on me. So I can't talk. It's like when somebody's doing a live shot on TV and they have to throw their IFB out. I started throwing my headphone out, but then I realized I just have to take my headphone down. And again, you're apparently running off the StreamYard to get me. Yeah, so my mic, when you said my mic wasn't up, it was up. I just muted my mic on the StreamYard. All right. Yeah, the echo's awful. So, I mean, my only recourse is to lower it whenever I talk, so... You can't hear me. I've done that, and you say I can't hear. I started that early. Well, I don't. There's no echo when she talks. It's only when I talk in my ear. Yeah. So. Yeah. And again, I've got a fix for it. It's a hassle, but I got a fix for it. I just have to, whenever I talk, lower my level in my ear. It's doable. Okay. Would be nice if I had a TV in here. We're in the information business. Gosh, I've got great logo. I can look at the show logo, though, for 3 hours. But, yeah, no TV during a sporting event that we should be reporting on. Okay, thanks. All right. Well, we are having some technical fun. -3 or 3 degrees in Puebla. Wow. Carl, welcome in. I need to aim this a little differently because my setup's going to be different this morning. Let's see. So we're going to put that there. I think I'll just do that. And I'm going to go grab some coffee because God knows I need it. Joe Garcia, that is cold. David Pryor, welcome in. Hello, David Pryor. Welcome in, everybody. I'm going to be back in a sec. We'll talk about this. I am busting out the Greg Popovich Holy Prayer Candle starting tonight. All right. Give you some Dave OEHLER since he is on screen at the moment, and I'm not, and Shannon's not, but we'll be back in a sec. All right. Good to see Taro in here from Tokyo. Welcome in, Taro. I do have my Jack Kerouac. I haven't busted out the Jack Kerouac t-shirt in a while. It's got a very cool Jack Kerouac quote on back. I love me some Jack Kerouac. Oh, All right, let's see here. My mic is on. Everything's a little different this morning, so I just have to, I'm closer to that button, which is going to help me. All right, let me see who we see here. Sam Tobias, welcome in. Robert Rodriguez, I love your movies, man. You're a great filmmaker. And we had your sister on the show at Christmas time, Robert. Anthony Del Toro. I know it's not the Robert Rodriguez, but you are the Robert Rodriguez. In your world and in your life, you're that other filmmaker guy's the other Robert Rodriguez. Hector Gomez, Luisa Alanis, Taro Kotani in here from Tokyo. Joe Garcia from Pueblo, Colorado. It is 3 degrees. Thank you, David Pryor, for listening to us. Sam Tobias. Yeah, I can use some extra coffee. Ramon Rodriguez Martinez from Ohio. Man, we got Ohio in the house. We'll give everybody from outside of Central and South Texas a shout out. We'll give you all shout outs. So we got Joe Garcia in Pueblo. We'll do that on the radio. And you're at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, aren't you, Ramon? I think so. Ohio must be going crazy for the Bengals. Taro, are you watching the opening ceremonies, I hope? All right. All I have to remember, it's a different setup this morning. I just got to figure it out, and I will. Put that there. And do I have? I think I do. There's that. Christopher Smith, welcome in. We got a thumbs up from Christopher Smith, who has been in here before from Zimbabwe. Yep, Taro is watching. Very cool. Okay, let me see if I can figure this out. Welcome back. It is the Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney, Dave OEHLER, your Soundscape stylist. Coming up in just a few moments, our high five play of the day. I want to give a shout out to everybody joining us on the live video feed. If you're new to the show, the live video feed is fun because you're not only interacting with Shannon, with Dave, with me in real time during not only the on-air portions of the show, but the commercial portions of the show. But you're also interacting with other sports fans, not only from across the great state of Texas, but from around the world, as this morning we're joined on the live video feed from Taro Kotani, joining us from Tokyo, Japan. He is the greatest international Spurs fan. And yes, I have confirmed Taro, like Shannon and Dave, watching the opening ceremonies of the Beijing Winter Olympics. Also joining us this morning from Pueblo, Colorado, where it is 3 degrees above Fahrenheit, actual temperature, wind chill below 0 in Pueblo this morning. Joe Garcia Welcome in, Joe. And Ramon Rodriguez Martinez joining us from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio. And just the mention of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base reminds us to thank anybody listening right now who is either serving in our military or has served in our military. Thank you for your service. Dave OEHLER doing the heavy lifting this morning, our Soundscape stylist, in a nondescript green sweatshirt this morning, non-hoodie variety. Was that an homage to the Green Bay Packers, to Danny Green, to Al Green, to Holmes High School, my alma mater, their colors green and gold? What were you thinking this morning when you went for the green sweatshirt?
I wasn't thinking at all, but now that you mentioned it, I'll go with Joe Green, Mean Joe Green.
Mean Joe Green.
From North Texas, University of North Texas. And,
which is the mean green.
Exactly. Who's your on your, is that Jack Kerouac on your shirt?
I am wearing a Jack Kerouac shirt. Yes, sir. I
couldn't see
a big fan of Mr. Kerouac of the Beat generation, hanging out with Allen Ginsberg and Lawrence Ferlinghetti, and he was a hipster before the hippies existed.
And Ken Kesey.
Ooh, the Magic Bus. The merry pranksters on that Magic Bus.
When I was in college, I had dinner with Ken Kesey.
Get out.
I'm serious.
How did you, sir? I am jealous. How did you have dinner with Ken Kesey?
I was working at a radio station, and they were bringing in authors. It was a side project I did. Was a show where they'd bring in authors, local authors, national authors, and they'd do a radio show. And he came in and did a reading. He had just released a book called Sailor's Song.
Wow.
And he was probably the first sort of famous person I met, and probably the coolest.
Yeah.
He did a book signing. He did like a reading, answered questions from the audience. Then he did a book signing afterwards. And there was probably 200 people there getting their book signed. He stayed there and sat there for hours and signed everybody's stuff until they were done.
I love it when I hear that from somebody. Shannon, he was from the 60s, way before your time. Any idea on Ken Kesey?
I have no idea, but I kind of feel bad for Dave because he was like, you said he was the first celebrity you kind of met through the job, but then also the greatest. It's been all downhill from there.
Yeah. Well, just not everybody has been as cool as him. And he was great. He was great at dinner. He was teaching us magic tricks at the table. And it was, I just saw him interact with his fans. And like he's like I said, he just sat there until everybody came through the line, signed everybody's books. The book he's most known for is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yes.
And he told us about how he's never seen the movie, filed a lawsuit against the movie. Oh my God.
Yeah. I never knew he never saw the movie.
No, he wanted to write their screenplay, and they said, no, we're not letting you write the screenplay. And he tried to get his rights back, and they went to court. And he right at the beginning, he said, and he was a real jovial guy until he brought up the movie. Then he got real serious, and they were selling books at the signing that you could buy and have them sign. And on the cover of the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest books, there was the picture of Jack Nicholson on the cover. So whoever brought those books through, he had these paint pens that he would sign with. He would draw all over Jack Nicholson's face because he thought Jack Nicholson wasn't the right person to be playing Randall. I think his name was Randall in the book. But yeah, he was a great guy. And when he died, I was really sad because he was just a real down to earth, real friendly.
And for Shannon and for anybody else who doesn't know about Ken Kesey, he was a huge figure, a brilliant man, a brilliant writer, as Dave mentions, but was also like a big part of the Beat generation in the 50s and the 60s and the hippies in the 60s. And what I really enjoyed was he got a bus that they called the Magic Bus, and it was a psychedelic painted up bus, Shannon, and they went across the country, and they called themselves the Merry Pranksters, and they would just prank on people and just have fun. And it was the 60s, dropped a lot of acid. So they were a lot of pot smoking, a lot of acid, a lot of drugs, but all in a very, Dave mentions he was a happy, joyful guy. It was all in a really good spirit. You hear that and you go, oh, well, people driving on a bus doing drugs. They were pretty amazing people. There's documentaries on the Merry Pranksters and Ken Kesey and while he's doing this, he's writing bestsellers and landmark books like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest as well, which is just crazy. So
he was
there's
telling
that.
us all kinds of stories about and at the time we were driving to he was riding in the car with us going to the signing, and he had never heard of Pearl Jam.
Wow.
This was like in the early 90s, 93. And I go, he's Pearl Jam is just on tour with Neil Young. He goes, oh, Neil Young, I just dropped acid with him last week.
He was big into the LSD. He was big into the acid and the psychedelics. Very, very cool. All right. Who knew we'd go on a Ken Kesey tangent there, but I liked it. All right. One other thing, Shannon, I got to bring up when I was out the last couple of days. It was the Chinese New Year. Did you and Paul Alexander, and here we are, the Beijing Olympics in China happening as we speak, the opening ceremonies. Did you and Paul Alexander bring up the Chinese New Year?
I don't think we did, but I do know that it is the year of the tiger.
Yes.
Are any of y'all a tiger?
Well, I know a guy who was an LSU Tiger and is now a Cincinnati Bengal. His name is the Tiger King, Joe Burrow. That's the reason I brought it up, Shannon. I think it is if the Cincinnati Bengals win this Super Bowl in the year of the Tiger, and some people are calling Joe Burrow, because he's an LSU Tiger and a Cincinnati Bengal, the Tiger King, I just think it's totally cosmic if in the year of the Tiger, the Bengals win the Super Bowl, their first Super Bowl ever to win.
That would really be something. And it makes sense. And one thing Paul and I did talk about while you were out is there's this new concept of the Triple Crown, but for football. Win a Heisman, win a national championship, and win a Super Bowl. It's never been done. Joe Burrow could be the first.
Wow. At quarterback. I think I got to go look this up. And I imagine Paul would have brought this up. I think, no, because Pittsburgh didn't win. Tony Dorsett won the Heisman, and the next year as a rookie won the Super Bowl for the Cowboys, but I don't think Pittsburgh won the national championship. So you're right. Joe Burrow. Do it, Joe Burrow. I'm excited. All right, let's do this thing. It's time for the High Five play of the day, appropriately sponsored by High Five, 2 locations in the Austin area. And Shannon, I was babbling about Ken Kesey for the last 10 minutes. As we go into this, tell us about High Five. What are people going to find there?
Yeah, High Five, 2 Austin area locations, one out Lakeway, one in Central Austin on Anderson Lane. And it's for all people of all ages and all sizes. Bowling for those competitive and for those who still need bumpers. Sometimes you have to pretend you have a small child with you in order to let them use bumper. So just borrow one. It's fine. Go to the arcade and pull a kid out of the arcade and say that you need bumpers. Axe throwing, of course, a huge favorite of mine. I'm very talented at it. I did not hit the ceiling on my first throw. Yes, I did. But eventually I got the hang of it. I personally like to go with the one-handed route, and also great food. Plenty of food to enjoy. If you don't have Super Bowl plans yet, I would go ahead and call up High Five and get a reservation, because I'm sure that is going to be a hot spot come Sunday, just 9 days from now, the 13th, the Super Bowl. It's going to be taking action. High Five play of the day brought to you by High Five. And today on a football Friday, a little bit less football this weekend, but football nonetheless. We do have the Pro Bowl, so we will look there for our High Five, and specifically Cowboys Pro Bowler Micah Parsons. The Pro Bowl has already gotten underway with the skills competition that took place yesterday. Micah Parsons appeared in a foot race to determine the NFL's fastest man. Now, Chris, when you say that, you typically think Tyreek Hill, right? Like he obviously, hands down, go ahead, put all your money on him. But because it's the Pro Bowl and guys don't necessarily go all out, right? They've already earned their Pro Bowl status. Why keep trying? The Tyreek did not win this race. It was Micah Parsons. The race included Micah, Tyreek Hill, Nick Chubb, and Cowboys teammate Trayvon Diggs. And Micah Parsons won the NFL's foot race. He gets crowned the NFL's fastest man. He did admit, because that's just the kind of guy he is. He said, look, I understand Tyreek wasn't going full out and that he is truly the fastest man, but he'll go ahead and take the title. He also gets points for the NFC side of things in the Pro Bowl. Micah Parsons also, we're also going to give him a high five, because I did see this story this morning, some athletes are given tickets to the Super Bowl that they can then in turn give to others. And he has partnered with USAA to give his Super Bowl tickets to a military member that he will meet out in LA and personally hand over the tickets to. So that member of the military service can go to the Super Bowl and enjoy what's surely going to be a once in a lifetime experience for the game between the Rams and the Bengals. So Micah Parsons is our high five of the day.
Very, very cool. Micah Parsons. And while we are very disappointed in the Cowboys season, obviously one of the huge bright spots for the Cowboys, maybe arguably the brightest bright spot for the Dallas Cowboys is Micah Parsons, who, if all things go as expected, if he continues to play throughout his career as he did as a rookie, and oh my God, can still get better in the next 1, 2, 3, 5 years, Micah Parsons could and should be a mainstay of the Dallas Cowboys. And Shannon, you mentioned partnering with USAA to get tickets for and honor our military. We love USAA. They are a San Antonio-based company, of course, so they're around us here in South and Central Texas. They do great things for the military, so that's just kind of a cool win-win for everybody involved there. So I second that emotion. Micah Parsons. Now, I want to talk to you, Shannon, about the Pro Bowl, because I know and the NFL has to find a way to reimagine the Pro Bowl. I know they're trying and they have tried,
Yep.
but so many people just blow it off. And I watch it just because, and nobody warns us of this better than Paul Alexander, and he's going to join us at the top of the hour just after 7 o'clock. Football is a perishable commodity. Football comes and we blink our eyes a few times and we love it and we're in bliss. And then boom, it's February and football leaves us for several months. I know the USFL is coming this year. And yes, I'm a football freak. More football is good football. I will get into it. But Shannon, will you watch? Will you have the Pro Bowl on? Are you going to be locked in on the Pro Bowl this weekend?
I'm sure I'll flip to it a couple of times. You're right. Compared to NBA All-Star Weekend, who, as great as that already is, they're constantly making additions and changes to excite fans and get them more involved and intrigued, and the players involved in the events that they do that surround that entire weekend. The NFL, it's hard when it's football. You can't play pickup football like you can play pickup basketball when it comes to the main event, which is the All-Star game, the Pro Bowl game, right? Because these guys have just finished their season. They didn't get to where they wanted to be, so some of them a little deflated. Tyreek Hill, we just mentioned, was part of that foot race. He's probably not feeling the best. He probably feels like he should still be in Kansas City prepping for the Super Bowl. But instead, here he is at the Pro Bowl having to race against Micah Parsons and the Dallas Cowboys. And so because of that, these guys aren't going to go all out. They just did a full season worth of car crashes. Why would I voluntarily go through more? I don't know why they don't do like a flag football. I feel like you'd have guys going all out more on a flag football game than what they do for the actual Pro Bowl game, because they don't want to get hurt. They don't want to risk injury. And I know that there is the incentive of the winning team gets X amount of dollars, and if you're the MVP, there's usually a car of some sort. But for those watching, it's very easy to tell when football is not the football that we know and love, and the guys going all out for each and every play. But I just don't know what the fix would be in the world of the NFL to get people more involved and more excited about watching these guys at the end of the season.
And maybe, Shannon, I talked about how the Olympics should maybe be after the Super Bowl. There was a time when the Pro Bowl was after the Super Bowl. I agree with you. They've got to do more innovations, but maybe you do it after the Super Bowl and you bring in the Super Bowl players, and maybe you do flag football and a whole bunch of other things. But I think the NFL really needs to continue to find a way to try to improve this event.
Yeah, and I agree. I think, because it is this kind of bye week between the Super Bowl, I think a lot of people are like, I'll just wait for the Super Bowl. And also in comparison to the NBA, it's smack dab in the middle of the season, right? People are still very interested in these players. They almost watch because they're like, please don't hurt yourself. There's half a season to go. We need you for the playoffs. We need you. Whereas these guys, their seasons are said and done, and they're heading to vacation immediately after. And most of them probably already feel like they're on vacation. I know. Didn't the Pro Bowl used to almost always exclusively be in Hawaii?
It did. And we'll talk about that and more with Paul Alexander coming right up on the Chris Duel Show. James Rippey, Ralph Balderas, welcome in. Jason Paniagua, Christopher Sanchez, David Pryor, Ramon Rodriguez Martinez, Beth Settle. Hello, Beth. Okay, so we got Paul. I need to send Paul a quick message. Okay, now what was that? Let's see. All right. I'm going to grab some coffee. Let's see. I'm going to send Paul a quick message if I can. Whoa, okay, thank you. All right. That's hilarious. Hello, Haas Holding. Haas, busy morning, getting ready for a cruise next week. Good for you, Haas. However, be careful on that cruise, Haas, as you know. We know that cruise ships caused a lot of issues with COVID. I'm sure you're taking precautions. Steve DeRocco, THE Rock. Steve DeRocco, the original Rock. Yeah, Luisa is saying the USA is marching in right now. Very cool. If you're near a TV, Dave OEHLER is watching that right now. USA! USA! Shouldn't the Dallas Cowboys also be marching in, since we are America's team? Shouldn't it be Olympians and the Dallas Cowboys marching in? I'm just saying. Yeah, Haas Holding here is mentioning, and I posted it on some of my social media. In fact, let me put that up. I may bring this up with Paul. Gary DeLon, who is a legendary sportscaster, but also did a lot of work in television news. In fact, one of the most remarkable things about Gary DeLon is when Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Gary DeLon was working in Dallas on the radio. He was the first radio reporter in Dallas to go on the air and report that President Kennedy had been shot. Then, see, that was on Friday. Then on the Sunday morning, in the basement of the police department in Dallas, when they're walking out Lee Harvey Oswald, and Jack Ruby shoots and kills, ultimately, he died later of the wounds, Lee Harvey Oswald. Gary DeLon was like 9 feet away. You know, you see those photos of Jack Ruby walking up and shooting Lee Harvey. Gary DeLon's just out of that frame, live on the air, covering that as it happened. So Gary DeLon is in the hospital, and according to people very close to him, who I've been in contact with, sadly, Gary's in really difficult, bad condition, grave condition. So we're praying for. Thank you, sir. So based on you've got the same settings as yesterday, right? So we should hear him. Okay. We're going to assume we can hear him. Beautiful. Jason saying Gary was in the movie Johnny Be Good with Anthony Michael Hall, Robert Downey Jr., and Uma Thurman. And here's my favorite thing about Gary DeLon. Nicest guy in the world. Yeah, I grew up as a kid watching him on television in San Antonio. He did a lot of Spurs broadcasts. He was the backup guy for Terry Stembridge, the original voice of the Spurs. And when I got to meet him, like anybody who met him, and many of you, nicest guy in the world. I mean, it's one thing to have great talent and to accomplish great things. It is even more important to be a good human being. And that's what Gary DeLon is. That my biggest takeaway from him is his kindness. You know, there's that Maya Angelou quote, you know, people remember you not for what you said, but how you made them feel. Gary DeLon makes you feel good because he's a good man. So to me, that's my biggest takeaway about Gary DeLon is just what an amazing, good man he is. So I hope all goes well. All right, let's see here. Here we go. Oh, I need my Paul Alexander. Okay, I'm going to mute everything just for a sec because of the music. Welcome in on a football Friday. That's right. I said it. It's a football Friday. I know there's no meaningful NFL football this weekend, but there is technically NFL football. It is happening in Las Vegas. It is happening at 2:00 on Sunday at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. It will be a star-studded football affair. So why are we not that excited about the Pro Bowl? We will explore that, the Olympics, and other things with our go-to guy on all things football, and a guy that I must thank who, along with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney, Dave OEHLER, Jeremy KOLAK, the last couple of days, just absolutely slayed the airwaves with Radio Gold, the one and only, the man at radicallyrational.com. Coach A, Paul Alexander, how are you this morning? Well, and Paul, I absolutely thank you. I got to tune in a little bit here and there. What I saw was spectacular from you and Shannon and our listeners. I see all kinds of reaction from social media anytime you're on the show, either on a Friday or when we were lucky enough to have you in studio each of the last 2 days. So I can't thank you enough. All right, Paul, help me out here and help Shannon out because I will watch the Pro Bowl. I always do watch the Pro Bowl, but I'm going to be honest. By the third quarter, I find myself multitasking. I find myself checking my email, looking at social media, cleaning the room while keeping the TV on. How should we regard the Pro Bowl this Sunday? You preach rightfully so, that football is a perishable commodity. It will leave our lives very shortly, and we should cherish every moment of it. How should we approach the Pro Bowl on Sunday?
With a lot of chips and dip and adult beverages and a sense of humor, and just enjoy watching the football go round and round and go Wilson, Wilson, Wilson. So I'm going to get back in my role as the ultimate NFL shill. Okay, paradoxically, the fact that the Pro Bowl is such a rotten football game is proof positive that pro football is the greatest sport. What are you talking about, Paul? Here's the deal. You can fake a basketball game. You can fake a baseball game. If you've ever seen the NHL All-Star game, you can sure as heck fake a hockey game. You can't fake a football game.
Nice.
And the problem there is that football is an entirely different enterprise, and you got guys going at different speeds there. And the problem is when somebody starts trying. My God, whatever you do in a Pro Bowl, don't try. Okay, folks can get hurt out there. Here's the thing. I think being named to the Pro Bowl is wonderful. I think it's a great honor. And I think what they ought to do is go to some place like they used to, like, I don't know, Hawaii. Okay, everybody gets some nice big drinks with the little paper umbrellas in them and stuff like that. You know, let's have a luau. You know, let's play a little mandolin and ukulele and have a good time. And how about we don't beat on each other for 3 hours and say we did?
Oh, there's always got to be that one guy because he wants to win the MVP and win the truck. That's what he wants to go home with, even though it makes no sense that the truck has usually been in Hawaii and then you got to get it back stateside. Paul, what would be one thing that if they were asked you to help improve this Pro Bowl, what would be something that you'd say this has to go or we need to add this? Because honestly, I'd rather throw up Madden and just put on, two teams and have it just autoplay. I'd watch that over a Pro Bowl game if given the choice.
I'm tempted to say that what they ought to do is just have a nice, big, good beach flag football game. But I'm reminded that as part of a Pro Bowl a few years ago, they did exactly that. They did exactly that for fun. And one of the most promising young running backs in the league lost his career. So I don't know what to do.
Well, and Paul, I was thinking about this as well. There was a time not long ago when the Pro Bowl was after the Super Bowl, especially, this year, it's kind of an anomaly. The Rams, I know they were there recently, but they're relatively new. Certainly Matthew Stafford is new to the Super Bowl. Joe Burrow and the Bengals new once again to the Super Bowl since 1988. But for the longest time, it was Tom Brady and the Patriots, along with very good teams from the NFC. Whatever they do, shouldn't the Pro Bowl be after the Super Bowl so that those marquee names that are in the Super Bowl can participate and then come up with something like they do in the NBA or in Major League Baseball or in hockey that is going to make us want to watch?
You know what? There's no real good solution here. You're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't, because the Super Bowl heroes at that point are not going to want to play in the Pro Bowl. They're not going to want to do that. That's the last thing in the world they're going to want to do. We do have this, open week, I guess, between the conference championship games and the Super Bowl. And at least we get to see, like I said, the Wilson spiral and go round and round. It really is a dilemma, but I'm not kidding. The fact that it's such a stinker is proof that football is the greatest game.
Agreed, Paul. Agreed. Now, very well there's been plenty of coaching news to go around this week, and added to it now, Doug Peterson, former head coach and Super Bowl winning coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, has been named head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Do you like it? Because I'm kind of getting like Mike McCarthy vibes out of this.
See, I just pulled the trigger like 15 seconds before you guys were nice enough to have me on the air. I just pulled the trigger on today's sports blog and news blog at radicallyrational.com. And my lead paragraph is, I love that hire. Doug Peterson is a really good coach. He had a stinker year, won 4 games, and the Eagles turned him loose, even though he had just won a Super Bowl. He is kind of a quarterback whisperer, although he's been known to turn up the volume a little bit as well. he's certainly a good coach. He comes from the Andy Reid coaching tree, etc. Look, the Jaguars just messed this up 6 ways to Sunday last year when they hired that clown, Urban Meyer. Peterson is not a clown. That is not going to be a circus. It's not going to be a clown show, and he will get Trevor Lawrence straightened out. I think that's a solid hire.
Well, and Paul, you bring up Trevor Lawrence, and I think as we look at Joe Burrow right now, in the right situation with Cincinnati, the planets aligned. Obviously, his rookie year, it didn't look that way with that injury, and he continues to get shellacked with that bad offensive line. But I think Trevor Lawrence is an indication of it's very important where you get drafted as a quarterback in the NFL. I often think, what if Tom Brady did not get drafted by the New England Patriots? How might it have worked out? And you look at a Doug Peterson, Paul, you look at what he did with Carson Wentz and then Nick Foles leading him to a Super Bowl win over Tom Brady and the Patriots. For Doug Peterson to have a great quarterback like this, if he is given the latitude to surround him with a good offensive line and skill position players to throw and hand off the ball to, things could get very interesting in Jacksonville.
I completely agree, and I never really understood why the Eagles turned him loose in the first place. I mean, that just didn't make any sense to me. But yeah, I mean, Peterson, he was a quarterback, very respected. I've had a lot of people who coached Doug Peterson tell me that was one of the most astute observers of the game that the guy just got it. So I think this is a really good spot for him to land. You look at Trevor Lawrence, and obviously he did not get a lot of good tutelage last year, and he developed some bad habits. But the skill set there is still undeniable. Okay, he has a chance to be a great quarterback, but he had to have somebody in charge who understood the position, and now he has that. So if I were a Jacksonville Jaguar fan, I would be cautiously optimistic right now in the AFC South. But, of course, I'm a Houston Texans fan, and I'm not optimistic at all. Matter of fact, guys, they've just painted themselves into a corner, and it's completely self-inflicted. Think about this. They want to hire Josh McCown, and I get that. I mean, I've done some research on Josh McCown. I mean, this guy is a special individual. On the other hand, his football coaching experience to date he's been a high school offensive coordinator part-time at 2 different high schools. That's it. They clearly want to hire Josh McCown. But if they hire Josh McCown, I mean, all hell is going to break loose with the current climate right now. On the other hand, they say that Brian Flores is a finalist for the job. Okay, let's say he gets the job. Now you've got people screaming that this is appeasement, that this is a league bribe, that they're trying to essentially make this go away and play nice with Brian. The Houston Texans have shot themselves in the foot again.
Well, that just seems to be the way of that organization these days, Coach A. Keeping it with that AFC division, you mentioned yesterday that you like the idea of Jimmy Garoppolo going to play with the Indianapolis Colts. I'm liking that fit more and more as I think about it. But for Aaron Rodgers, a new team that he's now being tied to as a potential suitor is the Tennessee Titans. What do you like about that or not like about that if should that come true?
Well, here's what I don't like about it. It implies that there is a quarterback problem, that there's a pressing quarterback problem in Nashville. And I don't buy that. Ryan Tannehill is a good NFL quarterback, and he fits that system. And I don't see that being particularly good for Aaron Rodgers, as a matter of fact. So that does not seem like a great fit either way for me. And again, we were talking about this yesterday, Shannon, and that is in the NFL these days and in sports these days, it's an either or. We perceive either that somebody is great or that they absolutely stink, and there's no middle ground. Okay, nobody is saying right now, because he doesn't have the skin on the wall yet, nobody is saying, I'm not saying, that Tannehill is a great NFL quarterback right now, but he is a way, way, way above average NFL quarterback.
Yeah, and he led them to the number 1 seed in the AFC. Derrick Henry out for a lot of that run. I agree with you. Tannehill, I think, certainly is a very, very good quarterback in the National Football League. Coach A, Paul Alexander from RadicallyRational.com. Paul, Shannon brings up Aaron Rodgers, and I just wonder if you're a general manager anywhere outside of Green Bay and you're considering Aaron Rodgers, yes, he's extremely talented. However, he's 38 years old right now. During next season in December, he'll turn 39, and he's a diva and an agitator, if not a troublemaker. If you're Denver or if you're any other team other than Green Bay and you need a quarterback, do you really want to bring in Aaron Rodgers?
Wow, what a question that is. And there's so much to consider. And I would say it would be this scenario. If you really believe that at 21 other positions, your team is ready to win the Super Bowl, and the one deficiency you have is at quarterback, then you might consider it, just because you don't build teams anymore in the NFL. I mean, if anybody's thinking anything other than win right now, they're just going to get run over. I mean, that whole thing about building a team from scratch, like Tom Landry and Tex Schramm and Gil Brandt did with the Cowboys, that era is gone. So if you feel that you really are a quarterback away, you might do it. Because if you don't win a Super Bowl, you're not going to have a job in 3 years anyway, because it's a revolving door, and it's why people get paid the amount of money they get paid, because they're about to get fired. Anybody who gets hired is about to get fired, for sure. So that might make sense. You mentioned this team. That might make sense in Denver, for example, because that's a really good defense. But I don't know. And one of the things I was thinking about, and actually my wife and I were talking about this the other day, who has had a more precipitous fall from grace than Aaron Rodgers? I mean, yeah, we saw a little diva behavior from time to time, but for the most part, guy had a squeaky clean reputation. I mean, was viewed as just the ultimate solid, consummate pro, and then just, I don't know, kind of loses his mind and becomes a caricature of himself. It's not quite as bad as, say, Rudy Giuliani, but almost.
Talking football on this Friday with Coach A, Paul Alexander. It is 7:20, so we're going to pause for a moment to give you the 7 o'clock hour keyword, your shot to get $1,000 in your hand. Here it is.
Now your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Happy. That's happy. Enter it on our station website now.
State that keyword happy to ticket760.com and am13onthezone.com if you want to double your chances to win $1,000. We'll have another keyword for you in the 8 o'clock hour. Coach A, you mentioned, teams need to be in win now scenarios, and there's no real building of a team over time. And I think the Cincinnati Bengals are a great example of that. Look where they were just a year ago, and look where they are now. They're making their way towards the Super Bowl. They will fly out to LA on Tuesday. Now, Chris mentioned this earlier. Earlier this week, it was the Lunar New Year. It is the year of the Tiger. We have Joe Burrow, who's one of his many nicknames is the Tiger King. Do you believe it is his destiny at this point to win this year's Super Bowl?
Part of me really does feel that way. I mean, there's just this aura about this guy, and it really is inspiring, and he's so fun to watch. And one of the reasons why I think this may happen is, of the 4 units out there, the offense and defense of the Rams, the offense and defense of the Bengals, the forgotten unit is the Bengal defense. And I would submit that may be the best unit of the 4, and they're not getting any attention.
Coach A, Paul Alexander from Radically Rational with us. And Paul, as I think about this for a second, Joe Burrow comes into this Super Bowl kind of as the hot young thing. Rams come into this Super Bowl as the favorite. A logical thinker will say, the Rams are a better team. They've got better personnel. They should win the game. I remember a game once before with the Rams coming in as a favorite and a young quarterback playing in his first Super Bowl named Tom Brady had something to say about it. Now, I'm not comparing Joe Burrow to Tom Brady, but I might be comparing the level of sizzle at this moment, and maybe even more sizzle going into this Super Bowl for Joe Burrow, certainly, than Tom Brady when he went into his first Super Bowl in New Orleans against the St. Louis Rams.
You don't think I've lost my mind, but I'm going to say this. No, I'm not comparing Joe Burrow to Tom Brady on the career level, on the career achievement level. I mean, we're talking about a guy that won 7 Super Bowls versus a guy who is in his first Super Bowl. But I'm going to tell you this. I don't know what the career arc for Joe Burrow is going to be, but Joe Burrow is a better quarterback in his second year in the NFL than Tom Brady was in his second year, period.
My goodness. What a thought for us to wrap our heads around 9 days out from Super Bowl 56. Finally, Paul, I want to get your thoughts on a gentleman that you know well and I know. And for our Austin audience who may not know him as well, I'll give a little bit of background. He is a broadcaster known a lot as a sports broadcaster, but he was also an incredible newsman. In fact, when President Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, he was the first radio man on the air with the story to break that story on the airwaves in Dallas. 2 days later, he's in the basement at the Dallas jail, standing feet away from Jack Ruby when he shot Lee Harvey Oswald. He wound up making his way to San Antonio for his broadcasting career. One-time voice of the Dallas Cowboys, in fact, Gary DeLaune, a San Antonio Sports Hall of Famer. Paul, as you know, we're hearing from people close to Gary that he is in the hospital right now and that things, to be honest, are looking bleak at the moment. And we pray that Gary DeLaune will rally and be all right. But certainly our prayers are with Gary and his family. And Paul, you as a longtime television news and sports broadcaster in San Antonio, you on television and radio like Gary DeLaune. And one of the things Gary did after his TV career was devote his life to high school football, which he did up through this most recent high school football season. And I know certainly the San Antonio audience very familiar with Gary DeLaune at a moment that he certainly needs prayers and maybe some divine intervention in the hospital this morning. Your thoughts on the man, Gary DeLaune?
First of all, don't count him out. And we're going to continue to pray. I get very emotional when I think about Gary. Gary is a lovely human being, and I don't use that word very often. Like almost never. Gary DeLaune is a lovely man and human being, and I respect him so much for so many things. And you're right. You look at that resume, you look at everything he's done in his career, and he never talks about it, but it speaks for itself. But the thing that I get the most emotional about is the one you just referenced. Just continued to do high school football. Why? Because he couldn't stand not to. Because it was such a big part and remains such a big part of his soul and his DNA. It's his bliss. And I will tell you that particularly with respect to high school play-by-play and stuff like that, he's kind of my role model. I do it because I have to do it. And I will do it till I'm dead and gone. And Gary DeLaune is not dead and gone. My love, my respect, my prayers, my best wishes. I will tell you that I lost a dear broadcasting partner last week to cancer. And I'm just not going to lose another one.
Paul, you mentioned that Gary DeLaune is a lovely man, and I have so many takeaways about Gary, and I grew up watching him on TV in San Antonio when I was a kid and got to meet him and know him, and I absolutely agree. He's a lovely man, and one of my biggest takeaways, he's got all the talent in the world, but he is one of the kindest human beings. I have never seen Gary interact with anyone and not just bestow kindness upon them. And one of the many reasons I love the man who you just paid tribute to, Gary DeLon. Paul, before I let you go, you mentioned hot off the press is your sports blog is up at radicallyrational.com. We here on this show, on these stations, big fans of radicallyrational.com. For people who have yet to go to that website, as they should, what will they find there?
Hopefully some entertainment. Come with your sense of humor intact. We deal with some serious issues, but we don't take ourselves real seriously. But the premise is just this. We have become a society that is just untethered from facts and truths, and some people are denying even the concept of facts. So we're bringing facts back into fashion. We're making simple sanity sexy again, and we're saying straight up that crazy ain't cool. For the last decade, we've got this societal notion that there's something cool about crazy. Crazy ain't cool. RadicallyRational.com.
Amen to that. Go check out the site. And Paul, on the way out, once again, you absolutely rocked the airwaves, as you always do, the last 2 days with Shannon on this radio program. We look forward to your Super Bowl pick next week. Thanks for all you do. Have a great weekend.
Pleasure was mine, and thank you, and happy weekend indeed.
Amen to that. Coming up, it is time for Shannon's Salty Shakedown. This day in sports history, sports birthdays, and more. You're listening to The Chris Duel Show. All right. Welcome in, Tracy Bogert. I'm going to get some more coffee, I do believe. Back in a sec. Yeah, Tracy, very cool to grow up watching Gary DeLon on TV. And then what was cool, for those of us who have met him, just to meet him, and he was such a good guy and is such a good guy. 7 degrees in Colorado Springs. My God, Joe Garcia. It was Colorado Springs that I learned that snow can hurt you. Snow would blow in my face, burn my eyes, burn my cheeks. And I thought, 29, Amber will put you on sports birthdays. Amber, we are adding you to our sports birthdays today, along with Byron Nelson, Lawrence Taylor, Oscar De La Hoya, and Walter Stoops. See that? I didn't know about that. Gary was in the Jackie Chan movie, The Big Brawl. Gary's had an amazing life, man. That's so cool. Here we come. I got to remember to.
Let's get back to the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Find Chris and Salty on Twitter at Chris Duel and at
Welcome in. A salty shakedown for a frigid Friday, February 4th. Lots of F's there, but no F-bombs. Thank goodness. Dave OEHLER making the show go, learning things about Dave OEHLER every single show. He hung out with Ken Kesey, found that out an hour ago, and was in a car with Ken Kesey. Did he offer some acid? Did you drop acid with Ken Kesey?
No, I didn't. I did have a drink out of his flask that he had in a sock in his pocket.
Nice.
He had whiskey and he had part. I didn't smoke anything with him, but there were some other people there that did smoke some of the hippie lettuce with him.
You drank from the flask of counterculture hippie icon Ken Kesey. That is so cool.
Yeah, it was after his reading, and we were just kind of hanging around waiting for people to leave, and he pulls out this sock out of his pants and takes a swig and passes it to me.
Nice. See, I've often thought if I was ever, hanging out with Willie Nelson, and I once, many years ago, sort of opened for Willie Nelson. There was like a Cattle Barons Ball event at Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio. I was the MC. And I was doing comedy at the time, so I came out, did a few jokes, and then brought on Willie Nelson. I introduced Willie. It's shook his hand, closest I've ever been to Willie Nelson. But I've often thought if Willie ever offers you the herb, if Willie ever offers you a joint, as a Texan and as a citizen of the planet, you've got, even if there's like police officers around, you've got to take that and say, thank you, Willie. I think I will. It's a sacrament.
Just take a baby puff if that's all you.
Yes.
Just out of respect.
And I think even if police officers were nearby, they'd say, all right, technically that's illegal in Texas, but hey, it's Willie Nelson. What judge in Texas would convict you of that?
And another thing, when I was talking to Ken Kesey that night, I was taking a journalism class, and so I had to write a paper about somebody. So I go, well, here's Ken Kesey. I'll just ask him some questions. And so I was asking him some questions. I go, whatever happened to the bus that you and the Mary Pranksters?
It's a great question.
Yeah. And he goes, oh, it's out in my barn. It's still, and he goes, it's not running or anything, but yeah, it's still sitting in my barn.
Now, Ken Kesey passed away many years ago. I'd love to find out where that bus is now. It's got to be in a museum or something, right?
I think because, well, if you remember, it was called Further.
Yes.
there was a sign on the front where it said further on it. And then I think he redid it or kind of restored it back to where it was. And he called it Grand Further.
Nice.
And I think he got a bunch of Mary Branches together and they drove it from his home in Eugene, Oregon to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And it was in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Oh, that's perfect.
For a while.
That is
right now, I don't know where
perfect.
it is. And I think that was his hearse when he died. They put his coffin on that and took it to wherever he was buried or cremated.
I got to go check that out. That is tremendous. All right. Lots more coming. It's a football Friday, even though it's the Pro Bowl, but we're 9 days out from the Super Bowl. So we will talk more Super Bowl. We'll talk more NFL coaching changes. Got to talk some hoops, NBA and college hoops. Spurs lost last night, but they were severely undermanned. I am going to bust out the Holy St. Gregory Charles Popovich prayer candle this morning and for tonight's game against the Houston Rockets. We'll get into that in a moment. Shannon's Salty Shakedown is seconds away, but first, sports birthdays and this day in sports history. February 4th, 1969, the Oakland Raiders hire a new head coach. His name, John Madden. That kind of worked out. That was a pretty good hire. On this day in 1987, the Sacramento Kings score 4 points in the first quarter against the Lakers. It is the fewest points in a quarter in the NBA since the 24-second shot clock was invoked in 1954. Way to go, Sacramento Kings. On this day in 1997, O.J. Simpson was found liable in the deaths in a civil case of Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson. Again, that was a civil action against O.J. Simpson. Couple of Super Bowls on this day. Super Bowl 51 in 2007 in Miami. The Indianapolis Colts beat the Chicago Bears 29-17. Your MVP is Peyton Manning. And we were talking about Doug Peterson, the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Well, this was the day just 4 years ago, 2018, Super Bowl 52, U.S. Bank Stadium in Minneapolis. The Eagles beat the New England Patriots 41-33. Your MVP is Nick Foles. And yes, they would build a statue in his honor at Lincoln Financial Stadium in Philadelphia. That's your sports history. How about some sports birthdays? Born on this day in 1912, golfing legend, Texan Byron Nelson, born in Fort Worth, Texas in 1912. He passed away in 2006. Born on this day in 1959 in Williamsburg, Virginia, Pro Football Hall of Famer, considered the greatest linebacker in NFL history until Micah Parsons came along. Lawrence Taylor. Move over, LT. Micah Parsons got next. Born on this day in 1973 in Los Angeles, California, Olympic gold medal boxer, six-time world champion, Oscar De La Hoya. Also born on this day in 1950, San Antonio Spurs statistician for Bill Schoening. He's also done a lot of work with Gary DeLon over the years in high school football. The great Walter Stoops. Happy birthday, Walter Stoops. And a big, big birthday for this show, one of our favorite listeners / viewers on YouTube, Amber, who never sleeps and parties all the time. Amber turns 29 years old today. Happy birthday, Amber, on YouTube. She says her mother said this morning, on your birthday, hell has frozen over. It's kind of cold outside. Happy birthday, Amber, all the birthday people. That's your sports birthdays and your sports history. And now, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, countrymen, farm animals, pole assassins, and monkeys, here's your Friday Salty Shakedown.
Chris, the football season is going to come to a close here shortly when we get to the Super Bowl, but college baseball season will soon be getting underway, and Texas currently ranked #1 in the nation. It's going to be an exciting season, and things are going to get more exciting for those players because similar to the Horns with Heart initiative for the football program that will offer linemen $50,000 to take part in charitable causes, there is now something very similar going on for the Texas baseball program. As of yesterday, Occupy Left Field has created and announced their nonprofit Occupy Left Field Foundation, which will provide baseball players the opportunity to earn up to $10,000 a year by taking part in charitable funding appearances. This obviously, a part of the NIL, allows them to do this. Some charities that they are hoping to support will be as such the Jake Ellinger Foundation, as well as some others. The goal is to, of course, raise $1 million a year with this nonprofit. I'm sure they'll be able to achieve that with lots of Texas backers along the way. I love that. Obviously, football is always going to be the big money maker, the one where the most eyes are. So that's where all the money is going to go for those kids. But to have something for this baseball program like this that not only gets them involved in the community and with these great charities, but gives them the opportunity to make a little cash on the side. They'll also be with Flatwater Foundation, Mobile Loaves and Fishes, and RBI Austin are some of the other charities involved here. Chris, I love it. I know there's a big conversation, especially with Jimbo Fisher going on about, oh, people are starting to pay for players. This is paying for players. Well, listen, if they're able to raise $1 million a year, I'm okay with you paying players $10,000 for helping out with that. If all that money is going to such great causes, your thoughts on the new nonprofit Occupy Left Field Foundation meant for Texas baseball players to get involved and earn some cash?
I love it, Shannon, and I especially love it when it's a win-win, when the university benefits, the players benefit, and more importantly, charities benefit. And again, such a great opportunity if you've got a school with a brand like Texas has. And we talk a lot of football on this show, and we should, but you've documented this so many times, Shannon, as a Texas alum. Texas is so prolific in so many sports in its athletic department, and just with NIL, just another opportunity to take things to another level and reward and entice these athletes to come to Texas. And again, you set it up to where it's a win-win, and some worthy causes also benefit. How cool is that? I absolutely love it.
I'm excited for these players and excited for the Texas baseball season. As we said, they are starting off #1 in the nation this year. All right, moving on. Of course, the Super Bowl. We're counting down the days until that time is coming. People are already placing bets, and one bet in particular, Chris, I think is one that a lot of people hope doesn't come true. A gentleman placed a $100 bet that there would be no touchdowns during the Super Bowl. Sounds like a pretty boring Super Bowl. It has never happened where no team has scored a touchdown. It has happened as early as last year that there was one team in the game that does not score a touchdown, which was a surprise for a lot of people because last year that team was the high-flying offense that we used to call the Kansas City Chiefs. They did not achieve a touchdown. But this bet specifically, no touchdowns in the Super Bowl. The wager is $100. The return on that would be $10,000. Chris, that sounds like a pretty good deal. I'd go throw down $100 if it meant I was going to get $10,000 back. But with this Rams offense and the Cincinnati Bengals offense right now, the over-under on the game itself, I believe, is 48.5. They're expected to go over. So to me, that sounds like a couple of touchdowns might be scored throughout that one. But I don't know. What are you feeling? There's at least one person out there in America hoping no touchdowns are scored in the Super Bowl. That seems un-American to me.
It does seem un-American, but I'll bet someday it's going to happen. Just like we said, someday a 16 seed would beat a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. It happened a few years ago. Think about it. If you say for the next 10 years, I'm going to put $100 down on this bet, over 10 years, that'll cost you $1,000, but you can do it 100 at a time. And if it hits in the next decade, you get $10,000. I'm with you. I like that bet. I think it's intriguing, and I think it's a worthy bet. Unlikely, but it could happen, and I think it will happen someday.
Yeah, There'll be more crazy bets, I'm sure, to come as we get closer to the big game. Finally, the big game comes with big parties, especially when it's in Los Angeles. There's going to be plenty to choose from, but a lot of them come with a pretty hefty price tag. One of the biggest parties that takes place every year on the Saturday before the Super Bowl, except for last year, of course, due to a lot of the regulations, they could not hold it, is the Sports Illustrated party. And this year's, because they weren't able to have one last year, cost $3 million to put on. They're going to have entertainment like Kygo and Jack Harlow. When they were in Miami, there was a money booth where you went in and money was flying around and you just grabbed all the money you could. And Chris, the party better have a money booth if I'm having to pay 5 figures to get into the party. It's not even a Super Bowl watch party. It's not like you have a ticket to the Super Bowl. You can come to the party. You pay 5 figures to get a table at a party to sit down and watch it. I don't know if I'm into it or not, but this sounds like some LA people stuff right here.
It's crazy. And, it costs so much money to go to a Super Bowl. And I guess if you've got tons of money and you have no concept of what money is because you've got so much of it, I guess they wind up putting on games like this, or parties like this. Sports Illustrated, I wouldn't be there. I'll tell you that.
So good news, if you were to find yourself in there, you'd probably be the only one hitting up the money grab booth, because apparently it's mostly filled with celebrities, athletes, and models and performers who don't really, they're getting paid already. They're already bajillionaires. They don't want to subject themselves to a windblown money grab mechanism that makes people sometimes look ridiculous. I'd be there the entire time. I got to get my money back and see if I can make a little extra on the side. There it is, today's salty shakedown.
Outstanding salty shakedown as always. And Shannon, it is going to be fascinating, the fact that it is in Los Angeles at SoFi Stadium, this Super Bowl. I mean, we've seen a number of Rams games on national television this year. Most recently, that NFC Championship game where they show shots of different celebrities in suites and at the game. So we'll probably, while you get a lot of celebrities at any Super Bowl, you kind of get the feeling the fact that it is in Los Angeles, we'll probably see a lot of celebrities at this one.
Oh, I'm sure we will. And I'm sure the mask controversies will run high, because they're supposed to be wearing masks already at the SoFi Stadium. They're supposed to wear them throughout the Super Bowl, but we get a lot of celebrity pictures that go around with no mask in sight.
And again, I still wonder, how will Jackson Mahomes and Brittany, the wife of Patrick Mahomes, what are their plans? Have they revealed on social media what they'll be doing to be obnoxious, since they apparently won't be at the Super Bowl?
Did you not see what happened after the AFC Championship game?
Specifically what?
You know what? We can tease this. We'll get into it at the top of the hour. How about that?
Let's do that.
So you're going to love it.
All right. More coming up. And I guess we'll make our picks on the Pro Bowl. Why the hell not, as Kinky Friedman would say. Let's talk more Super Bowl. Let's talk more NFL coaching carousel. NBA Spurs lose last night. They play again tonight. This is the last game at home before the rodeo road trip. Spurs hosting the Houston Rockets tonight. I am employing a mystical, special powered Greg Popovich prayer candle. We'll bust that out coming up as well. Till 9, it's the Chris Duel Show. Now, Kevin, we did see the mattress match story. We'll get into it. We haven't yet, but we'll get into that. Good morning, Jesse Bratton. I thought about that. I don't have them set up yet, so we'll have to wait on that. Yeah. Yeah, we'll do it just to goof on it and just dip into it and then dip out of it. All right. Here we go. Woo! Woo! All right, I'm going to mute for a moment on the opening music because the Facebook Gestapo
This
likes
is
to come at
the
us.
Chris Duel Show. Now, Chris Duel.
It is a football Friday, February 4th. Sort of a football Friday. There's a football game on Sunday. There's a lot of NFL players in that game. It is in Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium. It is the Pro Bowl. We'll talk about that. But more importantly, we will talk Super Bowl. We will talk NFL coaching carousel. We will talk NBA basketball, San Antonio Spurs coming off a tough loss last night to the Miami Heat. They turn around and play a back-to-back tonight at the AT&T Center. They will host the Houston Rockets. I've got a secret weapon to benefit the Spurs this morning and tonight during the broadcast. I have not busted it out all season long. I figure it is time. We will get into that. We will talk college sports as well. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney, broadcasting from home for the second day as the road conditions in the Austin area, just a little frightening. Very, very good precaution. Shannon, I have always aspired to do a radio show from my home. You've got all the highfalutin equipment in your house. You are doing it. I have never done what you were doing, and that is a full radio show from your home. And to your credit, you don't seem to be wearing pajamas this morning.
No, I did get dressed. I mean, it's typical radio wear. I'm not going to a formal or anything. It's convenient, the commute. I got to sleep in a little bit, but I do prefer a studio setup and just having my normal equipment. But this is convenient and nice to have 4 times like this. Chris, I really need it to start melting out there. I'm supposed to be a good girlfriend today and drive and do drop off duty at the airport. And I need this to happen. I don't want to be like, hey, sorry, get a ride somewhere else because we're not risking it for that biscuit. No, thank you.
Speaking of the Austin Bergstrom Airport, Shannon, I've got a niece, Allison, who lives in Dallas.
Mhm.
And like 2 nights ago, she was flying back home to Dallas. And as she's flying into Dallas, they go, oh, can't land this plane in Dallas. You're going to Austin. So she was in Austin. They put her in a hotel 2 nights ago. So yesterday they go, oh, okay, we're going to get you out of Austin. Come on to the airport, bring your bags. Woo, it's all good. She goes to the airport in Austin yesterday, waits a few hours ago. You know what? This ain't going to happen. We're going to send you to another hotel. So this morning she's got some flights booked out of Austin trying to get to Dallas. She also said, heck with it, I'm booking a bus. As a backup, she booked a bus. So hopefully, so you're on a boyfriend duty. Where's boyfriend headed to out of Austin today?
Coincidentally, he's trying to make his way to a snowboarding trip in Tahoe. It's like, well, glass half full. At least you got to see some snow if it falls through. But I need this to work out for him. It's a bachelor party, and I feel so bad for the groom that it's already been delayed by the day that it already has been. So I'm really hoping that everybody gets where they're trying to go today.
Yeah, I looked at the forecast. It looks like starting today, afternoon, little sunshine, temperatures go up. It's bearable by day. And then for the next couple of mornings, looks like we're still in the 20s or 30s for a while. So at nighttime and early mornings look like they're going to be darn right freezing, but it looks like daytime's going to be okay. I mean, I'm no meteorologist, obviously, Shannon, but I got a good feeling your airport run's going to go okay today.
Yeah, hopefully. 2 hands on the wheel, though, for sure.
Yes.
For sure.
Now, in a moment, we're going to do our Pro Bowl picks because why not? I mean, I just can't let it go, Shannon. I can't just admit there's no meaningful football this weekend. So we will have Dave OEHLER play the music. We will make Pro Bowl picks. But you were telling me that in the aftermath of the AFC Championship game, we now kind of know the fate of Patrick Mahomes' obnoxious little brother Jackson Mahomes and his equally, if not more obnoxious fiance / mother of his child, Brittany. What's the latest on these two kooks?
Well, I can tell you that Jackson, after that AFC loss that the Chiefs suffered, went to a bar of sorts where there was a mechanical bull, and there is now a viral video of him riding that bull with a female friend. He seems to be having a great time, but people have gone after him for that. And I just checked their socials. Chris, don't fear, because there's football being played, as you said, this weekend, and Patrick Mahomes is part of it. And so, therefore, both Brittany and Jackson are in Las Vegas for all of the Pro Bowl activities. So even though people were thankful that Joe Burrow put a stop to the Kansas City Chiefs, thinking we are done with them for the year, they still remain. They're part of the Pro Bowl experience this weekend.
Oh my God. I mean, mixed bag. A, they're obnoxious. I wish they would be over, but B, maybe the fans rise up. Maybe fans rise up and just boo them when they're making their little TikTok videos at that stadium in Vegas. Yeah, I just, because I know in Kansas City, you mentioned this, Shannon, there's like some fans, we love you, Brittany, please shower us with champagne.
Yes.
We are worthless human beings. Hopefully fans in Vegas will just not put up with that crap.
Yeah, I don't know that they deserve the hate necessarily, but they do deserve the hey, you're being obnoxious. It's not like we're jealous of you. It's like normal people don't act this way.
You make a good point. After I no longer hate Kawhi Leonard. As we mentioned, I went on my forgiveness sabbatical.
Yes.
I got to be careful here. I can't just transfer what used to be my sports hate for Kawhi Leonard to Brittany and Jackson Mahomes. I got to be, you're so right. We maybe want them to grow up a little bit and become enlightened perhaps, but I got to ease up on the hate. All right. Well, Shannon, this is a bit ridiculous, but on this show, we embrace the ridiculous. We do have a football game of sorts, 2:00 on Sunday. So Dave OEHLER, as we have done throughout football season, for college football, for pro football, let us make our picks against the spread. Shannon Salty Sweeney, 2:00 on Sunday, available on ABC television and the 4-letter network. It is the Pro Bowl at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Jackson Mahomes and Brittany will be there. God help us. And there is a point spread. It is AFC by 1 point. The over-under is 62.5. Shannon, what is your pick on the Pro Bowl?
So often we pick games based on the quarterbacks and who has the better quarterbacks ultimately tend to come out on top. The quarterbacks for the NFC are Kyler Murray, Kirk Cousins, who is replacing Aaron Rodgers, and Russell Wilson, who replaced Tom Brady. And then over on the AFC, we have Patrick Mahomes, as we mentioned, as well as Justin Herbert and Lamar Jackson. So with that, I've got to take the AFC. I like that line at +1. Are we also guessing the over/under? Because if so, I'm going to go ahead and say the over because it is the Pro Bowl. Much like the NBA All-Star Game, defense is they're just kind of there to be seen and not to be heard. And so I feel like we're going to have a lot of touchdowns, a lot of creative touchdowns, but a lot of touchdowns nonetheless to get us on the over.
Shannon Salty Sweeney going AFC and over. Before you made your pick, Shannon, when you mentioned that Kirk Cousins is one of the quarterbacks for the NFC, and again, it's a new me. I'm trying to get over my sports hatred. I have not been a fan of Kirk Cousins, just like I have not been a fan of Cole Beasley for their misleading statements on the coronavirus that I think ultimately can hurt people. who are not discerning about their information. So I was going to pick AFC, but you're right. I mean, I've got to be more forgiving. Kawhi Leonard, who all is forgiven. I'm a kinder, gentler Chris Duel on this Football Friday, just for fun, and to forgive Kirk Cousins and not sports hate him nearly as much as I once did, just to make it interesting. I'm going to just go opposite of what you picked. I'm going to go NFC and Kirk Cousins and company, and I will take the under. So we'll see, how we do. You're going AFC and take the over. And once again, for those of you scoring at home, the over-under is 62.5 points. The spread is AFC by 1. So I will get the NFC and that 1 point, Shannon, and I will go under 62.5 points.
All right. Head to head. Here we go. Pro Bowl weekend.
Woo!
Exciting stuff.
Now, I'm sure you and Paul may have talked about this, but Dak Prescott, speaking of the Pro Bowl, had the option to go to the Pro Bowl, and he said, nope, not going to do it. Don't want to get my body even further banged up. As we know, this season he's coming off that injury, a catastrophic injury to his ankle. I kind of like the decision, Shannon, not so much from, I don't want to get hit kind of a thing, but if you're a Cowboy and you're Dak Prescott, your job is to do what Rodgers did and do what Troy Aikman did, and not what Tony Romo could not do, and not what Danny White could not do as a quarterback, although Danny does have his ring for Super Bowl 12 as a punter, just pointing that out. Your job as quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott, is get the Cowboys to the Super Bowl. So I'm kind of with Dak on not going to the Pro Bowl. How about you?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. And I think, too, it's just the smarter decision with everything that is going on right now with the discussion of Mike McCarthy. He can avoid all the questions that would surely come his way as the Dallas Cowboys quarterback. And obviously, he played spectacular this year considering the injury he had the year before, but any rest that he needs, I'm all for it. And again, he's a guy that gets it and gets it as a Dallas Cowboys quarterback that you can be a bit of a distraction, and that can be good or bad. And I think in this case, he's making the right decision to avoid the Pro Bowl and all that might come with it.
Speaking of Cowboy quarterback, Shannon, I was cruising through YouTube the other day, and I had not seen it before. And the Tony Romo, A Football Life documentary that NFL Films puts out showed up. So I just sat down and I watched Tony Romo, A Football Life. And while I love Tony Romo, and it was amazing to see his career and kind of the, they take you back to his home in Burlington, Wisconsin, and kind of the arc of his growth as a quarterback. Again, by the time you get to the end of that documentary, you're realizing dude never made it to a Super Bowl. As great as he was, and he did great things, and especially as an undrafted free agent. And there was even that moment, we talked earlier, Shannon, with Paul Alexander about Joe Burrow and how it's all working out for Joe Burrow and how things might have been different if Joe Burrow wound up on a different team or Tom Brady wound up on a different team. Something people might have forgotten about Tony Romo, he had a party at his house on draft day, and he was expecting to get drafted at some point, but it didn't happen. And then the Oakland Raiders offered him, I forget how much money, like $10,000 to sign as a free agent with the Raiders. And the Cowboys, Sean Payton, who went to his college, offered him nothing. But so it was either I can get $10,000 and sign with the Raiders, or I can go sign with the Cowboys. And Romo realized, he looked at the roster and said, maybe I have a better shot with the Cowboys. So ultimately he signed with the Cowboys. You wonder, had he signed with the Raiders, what might have happened? Maybe he gets cut in preseason. You never know. But when this Tony Romo, A Football Life documentary ended, I just felt this empty feeling. It's like, man, you didn't get to the promised land. You didn't get to the Super Bowl like Rodgers did, like Troy Aikman did. And I just think Dak Prescott must feel that pressure. He knows the history. He sees Roger. He sees Troy. He interacts with them. He knows what is expected of him. And I think that was part of this Pro Bowl decision. Dude has got to deliver a Super Bowl. And you know what? The clock is ticking. We don't think of Dak in terms of the clock is ticking, but as you watch this Tony Romo documentary and you watch that game in Green Bay where Des Bryant caught the ball, and I see it's 8:21, so we got to take a break here, and I'll get your reaction to this in a moment after we give the keyword. But Dak Prescott, man, you got a good team right now. You need to do this sooner than later. Speaking of sooner than later, and I'm a minute late for the Grand in Your Hand cash contest, you can win $1,000 right now. Here's your keyword.
Now your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Money. That's money. Enter it on our station website now.
Keyword is money. We suggest you go to both websites, am1300thezone.com and ticket760.com. Somebody, hopefully you, wins $1,000 right now, this hour. Shannon, how much pressure do you think Dak Prescott allows to be put on himself for not yet delivering the goods and to have to get to the Super Bowl? Because as a Cowboys quarterback, that's your biggest job.
Yeah, it's got to be a lot, and a lot more than what it was years prior, right? Because now he has the price tag to go along with it that says you are going to take us to the promised land, and that, you know, you held out, you took the franchise tag. Now you've got this big payday. You're here for the long haul. We gave you exactly what you wanted. You got to give us what we want. And you know, hopefully that goes hand in hand with Jerry, who keeps saying he'll do anything. It seems like Dak is you know, practicing what he preaches as far as he's doing anything, right? Choosing not to go to the Pro Bowl, choosing to take the rest. You know, he remains off social media in the best ways compared to, I don't know, some Mahomes like people. So he seems to be making all of the right moves. You know, and you know, given how the season ended, on top of that, with him running out the clock, he's probably feeling like he's shouldering a lot of that blame, and the what could have been is probably going to be lingering for quite some time. So I'm sure more than ever next season he's going to come in with the intention of taking the Cowboys deep into the playoffs and hopefully to a Super Bowl, because I'd like to see that in my lifetime sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. And especially this year, you look at the Rams, who were the number 4 seed in the NFC. Things worked out their way. They had to go win a big game to beat Tom Brady in Tampa. They did it, wound up hosting the NFC Championship game. And you look at the Cincinnati Bengals, who had to go on the road and face the number 1 seed Tennessee, and then had to go on the road to Arrowhead and took care of business. You know, that's what we look for the Dallas Cowboys to do. Shannon, speaking of this Super Bowl 56, whether it's the World Series or the Super Bowl, Mattress Mac, who is a legendary mattress salesman out of Houston, Mattress Mac has made headlines once again involving this Super Bowl 56. What has Mattress Mac now done?
I don't know if Mattress Mac has a tie to the Bengals. I don't know if it's like, hey, they have orange in their uniform and the Astros have orange in there, I'm going to go with them. Or if he's just feeling the Joe Burrow love. But Mattress Mac has wagered $4,534,000 on the Bengals at plus 170 to win over the Rams. Should that come true, he will bank $7.7 million.
Wow. And as we know, Mattress Mac has been fairly successful at these wagers over the years, most notably when he bet on the Houston Astros in 2017. And I wonder, and I'm kind of the same way. Obviously, I don't have the 4.53 mil to wager on the Bengals, Shannon, but I got this feeling about the Bengals. And, you know, Paul Alexander alluded to this in the 7:00 hour. Even though the Rams are favored, and I think it's all about Joe Burrow. I think it's this magic veneer or whatever it is, feeling that Joe Burrow has given us. I'm going to be a little disappointed if the Bengals don't find a way to close this deal 9 days from now.
Yeah, and I think so will folks in Houston, because to go along with this bet, Mattress Mac, he usually has some sort of deal, right? I mean, that's, he's giving back to the city in some way. So he's going to refund people who spend $3,000 at his furniture store if Cincinnati does in fact win the Super Bowl.
We got a lot more to cover here in the final segment, a lot more on the NFL, including Tom Brady, his latest retirement video, what's going to happen in the Super Bowl as far as the fans, the Bengals, their practice. And we'll take a look also at the Olympic opening ceremonies, which has been going on all morning long in Beijing. Shannon is all over that. And a Texas place kicker. We've been talking about Dicker the kicker, maybe becoming a Dallas Cowboy. Well, there is a Texas place kicker who is now a Dallas Cowboy. We'll get into that and a whole lot more. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney. Dave OEHLER making the show go. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Good morning, Jerry Lauder. Welcome in. Jason Paniagua saying Kawhi will probably sit out all season. Armando Salinas from Kentucky. Welcome, Armando. See, earlier in the morning, we had Pueblo, Colorado in the house. We had Tokyo, Japan in the house. We had Ohio in the house. Right, Patterson Air Force Base. That's pretty cool. All right, I am going to get some ice for my coffee. I still have to bring up. I do have the holy Greg Popovich prayer candle. I have not lit it this season. I've lit it in previous seasons. I will light it tonight and therefore guarantee a Spurs victory tonight over the Houston Rockets. And Pop will then be 6 games away from having the most regular season wins in NBA history. So that is coming. Frank Ramirez saying Kawhi has been damaged goods. We do have Dave OEHLER in the house, John. You are correct. Yeah, Frank, I got a good feeling about Joe Burrow too. There is I retweeted it from the Cincinnati newspaper at Cincinnati.com. Somebody got, I'll find the tweet. Let me see if I can find the tweet. I'm still on ticket, so I gotta. Where is that? There it is. I'm going to put the tweet here. Anyway, what they did was, it's the Cincinnati Enquirer. And they, if I can get to that. Where is that? There it is. Now, copy the link. It's a 3-minute and 20-second video of people reacting, and I'm putting it in the comments here now on the live video feed. It's a compilation of Cincinnati Bengals fans reacting to their winning that game against the Chiefs. And let me, if I got a sec here, I'm going to tweet that out as well on shoot. All right.
Astro, no.
Back to the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney.
Welcome back in. Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Dave OEHLER is your Soundscape stylist. And Shannon and Dave, I saw this last night after the Spurs game, and I loved it, and I retweeted it, and I just went in at the Ticket 760 Twitter page, and I retweeted it. So either on Twitter at Ticket 760 or at Chris Duel, currently you can go find it. It was put out by the Cincinnati Enquirer, their newspaper, which is at Enquirer. It's a 3-minute and 20-second video. And what somebody there at the Cincinnati newspaper did was they went on social media and they looked at all of these videos that people posted the moment that they kicked the field goal and won the AFC championship game and realized they were going to the Super Bowl. And obviously they haven't been to the Super Bowl since 1988, and they've never won a Super Bowl. So it is just a variety of fans going crazy. There are elderly people. There's some nuns at a convent. There's some children. There's men. There's women. There's some people are crying. There are people at a sports bar, and it is edited beautifully. And I just watched it last night, Shannon, and I even tweeted out, I said, this is why I love sports. I mean, there is such joy in these Cincinnati Bengals fans when their team finally, after all these years, is going to the Super Bowl and maybe with a chance to win it. Anyway, we tweeted that out. It's a great video. I highly recommend it.
I've seen the article that you're talking about. I haven't sat down to watch the video yet, but you know, you're just so happy for them. Especially, I know that we're like, they're still got another week. We don't have real football this weekend, whatever. But for those people who are so excited about their team going to the Super Bowl. They get those 2 weeks to soak it all in and be all about the fact that they are prepping for a Super Bowl. Because most of America always watches the Super Bowl, but it's not always your team that's in the Super Bowl. So for them to get that time, I'm sure Cincinnati is going to be crazy. We'll have to see. I know they wanted to do an AFC watch party at the stadium that they just couldn't throw together in 5 days, but they had 18 days to do one at the stadium. Still not my cup of tea to watch a Super Bowl at a stadium. I'd rather be at home, but we'll see if that comes together. I'm sure the city is gonna be going wild. Can't wait to see the reaction if they do in fact win it all with Joe Burrow. I mean, talk about a guy who should get a statue. They should already have one ready for him just in case.
That would be so cool if he gets it. And I saw as well Don Harris, who is the sports director at News 4 San Antonio, the San Antonio affiliate in San Antonio. He tweeted out that video from the Cincinnati Enquirer, and he cited, he remembers the feeling, and I think Spurs fans, if you were alive and a fan at the time, when the Spurs first ever won the NBA championship in 1999, it's one thing when a team wins the Super Bowl and you're watching it and it's fun and you're a fan. When it's your team and when you have been long suffering, and Shannon, you as a Dallas Cowboys fan, when it happens for you, and I still believe it's going to happen for you as an adult, as a Cowboys fan, it is such a feeling of euphoria and excitement. And that's part of what I loved about this video, seeing some of the people actually crying. I mean, I remember when the Chicago Cubs went to win the World Series after all these years, after the curse of the GOAT. Yes. And I remember some people going to the grave sites of their father or their grandfather who had lived all of these years wanting to see the Chicago Cubs win the World Series. And the Boston Red Sox went through this recently as well. And it means so much to fans and to family members and people who grew up as a fan of that team. And again, it transcends sports. It's one of the coolest things we can experience as fans. And and this is why when I've tweeted out this Bengals video, which is 3 minutes and 20 seconds, watch it full screen. There's a little thing you can click in the corner to, fill your screen, as opposed to like the little box on Twitter. And you really feel that emotion. You get a sense of that emotion, which is just so cool.
Yeah, it's beautiful to watch. And, we talked earlier today, of course, the opening of the Olympic ceremony, all those people that have worked so hard. I have to figure fans are getting kind of that similar feeling of the moment has finally come, the moment you've been waiting for. It's finally here. It's happening. We're living in it. So again, just happy for that fan base. And again, they've just become an easy team to root for. Not that the Rams, I have an issue with them, but you just look at the Cincinnati stories and the coaches going back to Cincinnati after they win their games and handing out game balls to local bars that have been supportive throughout not only this season but previous seasons. There's just lots to grab onto if you're looking for a team to root for.
Yeah, and while I'm rooting for Cincinnati, if LA wins, Matthew Stafford, that's a great story. If he wins it, that'll be cool. I like Cooper Kupp. I kind of like Sean McVay. So I'll be a little disappointed, but I'll then look at the storylines. Aaron Donald is cool. So I'll be okay with the Rams winning if they win it. But, Cincinnati, smaller town, underdogs throughout this season and for the past many, many years. That will be very, very cool. Speaking of the NFL, Shannon, apparently Tom Brady, I've been a big fan of his social media game. I haven't seen it yet, but apparently he's got a retirement video out there showing some of his love and affection over his career.
Yeah, so when Tom Brady announced his retirement earlier this week, it was in a form of kind of a letter, a bunch of social media slides, and he thanked all, kind of more loosely, coaches and players and family and friends. And then he got into the Bucs, which of course is the team that he is currently playing for, a team that is now currently looking for a new quarterback to take things over. But Patriots fans felt left out. And apparently even Robert Kraft had a little bit of a temper tantrum because he was not singled out in this retirement message to the world on what was, will forever be known as the day Tom Brady retired. And so now there's a video out of Tom Brady kind of again finalizing his retirement. It includes things both from his time with the Patriots and his time with the Buccaneers. He gives a little more love to the Patriots way. And I'm curious if, this video, did it just take some time to make, or did he start to feel pressure of, oh my gosh, this organization that I spent 20 years with, they may not forgive me if they really feel like I did them dirty here in my retirement. So I'll go ahead and release this, and hopefully that'll smooth things over.
Yeah, it makes you wonder. But I mean, if you're Robert Kraft, you let him get away. You could have, and obviously this has happened a lot. Joe Montana finished his career with the Kansas City Chiefs. Emmitt Smith, sadly, finished his career with the Arizona Cardinals. Tony Dorsett finished his career with the Denver Broncos. It's sad that a lot of times these superstars don't finish with the team that they truly should finish with. But, I think that's part of what happened there. It was Tom's most recent team, and they got the love in the moment more than the Patriots when he retired. You alluded to this earlier, Shannon, and I just want to underscore it, and we'll see what happens in 9 days at the Super Bowl. But the fans in LA, as we know, California and Los Angeles with very stringent COVID-19 regulations and masking regulations. So the word is, at least at the moment, fans going to that Super Bowl are expected to, and by law, are going to have to wear their masks. How do you think that's going to play out on Super Bowl Sunday?
I don't think it'll be much different than the NFC Championship game we saw a couple weeks ago. People are supposed to be wearing their masks the whole time, but it's hard to manage those thousands upon thousands of people, given the staff. And then you have the people in the suites, as we talked about. Magic Johnson was in a suite over the weekend and was taking pictures with people without his mask. Whether or not he was taking it on and off remains to be seen. But the point is, you're supposed to have the mask on all the time. And only take it off for eating and drinking. So there's probably going to be plenty of folks, when they pan to the stands, not wearing that mask. But also, you do have to come through with your vax card and then a negative COVID test. So hopefully everyone who is in attendance is truly either vaccinated or not positive for COVID, so that when people do start taking off their masks, which I'm sure they will, they're not going to become what they like to call a super spreader event.
Can you imagine, Shannon, if you're going to that Super Bowl, all the money it costs, and you have to travel across the country, get a hotel room, pay for your Super Bowl ticket, and then you're going to SoFi Stadium and you forget your vaccination card? Can you imagine? You got your ticket, you got your mask, you spent all this money, and even if you've been vaccinated, you got your ticket in your hand, but okay, my car. Oh God, I forgot my vaccination card.
Well, that's why they're also utilizing the Clear app. So before you even leave your house to travel to the Super Bowl, you get that taken care of and into the Clear app and verify yourself, and then you should be okay if you don't have the physical card with you.
There you go. That's a big deal for people to pay attention to who are going. One other thing I do want to mention about the game, Shannon, and I know it's in your show prep notes. Bengals this week. I mean, this winter storm, you think it's cold in Austin and San Antonio. The weather's been god awful as well north of here into the Northeast, and certainly in the Midwest in Ohio and in Cincinnati. The Bengals do have an indoor practice facility. As you mentioned earlier, they head to Los Angeles on Tuesday. Rams, it's their hometown. They practice at their own facility as they do all year. How do you think the practice situation will affect the Bengals in their prep for this Super Bowl?
All signs point to it being just what they need. I mean, we talked going into the AFC Championship that they were practicing in their outdoor stadium because it was going to be cold, and that they were blaring music and blaring things that they think they'll be hearing other than the quarterback call, right, during the game to prep for Arrowhead. And it seemed to do the trick because they got the win there. They know that they're going to be playing indoors for the Super Bowl, so they made the extra effort to make sure they could get themselves into an indoor practice facility. I'm not sure what their practice is going to look like once they get to LA on Tuesday, but I think they're keeping consistent with practicing in an environment that they expect to be playing in come game day.
And finally, Shannon, we don't talk enough Dallas Cowboys on this show, so we want to close with a Cowboys tidbit. You have long been an advocate of Dicker the kicker, the Texas Longhorns kicker, becoming a Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys, go get him in the draft. Certainly with Greg Zuerlein, he's no longer consistent. The Cowboys need a consistent kicker. Part of your wish came true this week. Apparently there is a Texas place kicker who is now a Dallas Cowboy. Not yet Dicker the kicker, however.
Yes, former Texas kicker Chris Nagar, who actually went to SMU because little Dicker the kicker took over his position for his consistency. He was an undrafted free agent last year, kind of bounced around through a couple of teams and was recently released in December, I believe, via the Browns. Cowboys picked him up yesterday. I don't know if he'll stick, but there's certainly a kicking battle going on right now for the Cowboys because Greg Zuerlein clearly it ain't it. Okay. So adding a Texas guy to the roster always makes me happy, and we'll see if hopefully he can be more consistent in the NFL than he was at Texas to ultimately lose that job to Dicker the kicker.
And you never know. I mean, kickers get hot and kickers get cold, and it's hard to handicap kickers. And I agree with you. Something's got to be done about Greg Zuerlein. I think he certainly lost his confidence and certainly lost his ability to be very, very consistent. Before we go, Dave OEHLER, we talked about the Pro Bowl. Shannon and I made our Pro Bowl picks. What are you doing this weekend other than trying to thaw out? Are you geeked up about the Pro Bowl?
No, I've never been geeked up about the Pro Bowl. The only time I would watch it was when it was in Hawaii and just so I could see the scenery.
So you won't watch it all because it's in Vegas?
I might flip it on and see what the score is, but no, it's just a waste of time. They need to change it up bad. It's just. I
agree with that.
It's just
I tend to multitask when I'm watching the Pro Bowl.
Like you said, I might have it in the background or something, but I won't be sitting down and watching it.
And Shannon, I didn't bring this up yet, but on video, I'm going to show this. I have not lit my holy St. Gregory Charles Popovich prayer candle yet this season. Spurs lost last night to the Miami Heat. They play the Houston Rockets tonight. Pop currently 7 wins away from the all-time regular season record in the NBA. I am going to light my Greg Popovich prayer candle tonight, therefore guaranteeing a Spurs win at home over the Houston Rockets.
Now, when you light that, do you keep it lit the whole game? Because those candles are pretty expensive. I think we've discussed that before. So
I know. I keep it lit. When I light it, I light it until the victory happens. So I get a good feeling. Spurs will win tonight thanks to the prayer candle.
All right. Put money on it.
Shannon, great job all week. Great job the last couple of days, especially with Paul Alexander. Enjoy the Pro Bowl. We'll talk on Monday.
All right. Sounds good, sir. Glad to have you back.
Thank you so much. Great to be back. Dave OEHLER, you rock, sir. Thanks for all your great work.
Thank you.
Go Spurs, go. Pop, 7 wins away, 6 after tonight. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Adios, everybody. Go Spurs, go.